once a country of mass emigration, is now home to thousands of immigrants. The economic boom of the 1990s and the roar of the Celtic Tiger has held an influx of newcomers to Ireland's shore. Fresh onto our streets is an exciting mix of new cultures and ethnicities. The increasing diversity in Ireland has led to an enriched and hybrid society. The country now, however, also faces a new set of challenges. Many migrants experience racism, exploitation and poverty. An organisation that helps combat these issues on a regional level is Cultúr in Navan, County Meath.
Cultúr's mission statement is that Cultúr are a voluntary organisation in County Meath that celebrates cultural diversity through education, sport, music and drama. In Ireland we used to talk about the brain drain. When people emigrated and we lost our best brains, we said. Now of course the reverse is happening, but we don't hear much about the brain drain coming into Ireland now. We hear more about the negative aspects of immigration, but in reality it must be the very same thing. A brain drain from Poland and from Africa and from all these places where some of the brightest and best young people are coming to make Ireland their home now.
Does everyone know that? Butcher?
Butcher.
Butcher. Butcher. 1, 2, 3, everyone.
Butcher.
Good. Joe came home one day and said to me, there's loads and loads of Polish people in Navan and they can't speak English. So we kind of started deciding we should be doing English lessons, you know. He'd already had this culture going for about a year by the time I got involved. He had this family fun day going, you know. So, yeah, we sent out walking up and down in Navan, I could see, you know, there were so many Polish people, I could spot them a mile away. And then we just started doing the English lessons. That was about 2 years ago, that was the first lot. So
I think sometimes it's difficult to speak English for us because Irish English is really difficult. It's different than English, and we learn in Poland not Irish English, so sometimes it's difficult. Your accent is really difficult for us to understand.
I mean, the only way you can integrate people is if they speak the same language. So I think learning English is vital. Going to schools, playing sport together, because I taught in a secondary school in England, and it's supposed to be a big melting pot of cultures, you know, but there are serious issues with integration. People are staying to themselves, and, you know, the religion is another thing. It separates people, and they stick to their own languages, you know, their own shops and everything. But the more they speak the language, the more they can kind of communicate with people. I think that's the only way they can integrate.
I'm working here in Navan. I'm working in a small company. I'm a land surveyor. So this is quite good for me because I'm improving my English, and I can get more skills in my occupation. So it's very good for me.
There's been a number of racist incidents in Meath, particularly in Navan, which would be the largest capital town. The population of Navan is only about, I think, 40 or 50,000 people, but with the volume of migrants and the speed that they've come in, there have been some incidences in some estates, particularly council estates, involving one African family in particular was a very bad incident, an incident where the woman and her 2 children had to leave their home. What happened was first of all, her car was attacked, so windows were smashed in her car. But then the incident got worse, or a short time later, a brick was thrown through her front window and narrowly missed one of her children who was sleeping on a couch underneath the window, I believe. There was also a dummy hung from some form of a body or a dummy hung from a lamppost outside her house, which was possibly some form of threat, and as a result she felt she needed to leave the estate and leave the house before anything worse happened. So she did that with her 2 children.
Because many people feel threatened for one reason or the other in terms of their job, they will have a position of wanting to be defensive against the possibility of migration, of immigrants coming in. But the kinds of problem that would be experienced, for example, in the workplace, is that some employers, knowing that the migrants are vulnerable, and because they may not be as au fait as they ought to be with the regulations, they do pay them less than they are required to pay by legislation. They cause them to work for longer hours. They cause them to work in conditions that are undesirable, and they make deductions from their pay that are not according to law, and threaten them with losing their job. And so the migrants keep their mouth shut because they don't want to lose their job. And so this position of power that the employer is in is used in a very oppressive way sometimes for the migrants. Happily, the legislation has changed somewhat. The role as migrant rights coordinator is involved in doing 3 things principally. First, to provide information and advice to migrants. The second thing it does is that it also offers advocacy for migrants. We feel that there's a need for the kind of a support for them because many of them have the problem with the language. They are not as adept at negotiating the different terms in the system. And so what Cultúr does is offers this advocacy, representing their interests, pursuing their cases, and so as to bring a happy resolution to their concern. And then the third thing that we do is that what we hope we can do, in fact, is provide a database of information based on the cases that we actually do, so that we can help to inform the policy relating to migration. For the last 4 years, the majority of the migrants who are coming into Ireland, they are not refugees, as many people are inclined to think. Most of them are EU citizens who have the right to work here, like any place else in the EU. And I think that the migration policy needs, in a sense, to become a little bit more migrant-friendly and not to have that presumption of suspicion. And so what we hope we can do is to affect how the policy is, in fact, articulated.
There's definitely a lot of ignorance towards racism here, and a lot of people, it's more of a fear. I think it's more because it's fear of, we used to like foreigners because there was not many, but now it's kind of, oh Jesus, they're everywhere, they're taking over this and that. So it stems from fear. I think this kind of racism does.
I think people are verbally abused racially a lot of time on the street, from passerby, sometimes from kids who really don't know better. Some of the bus companies have tried to tackle racism as well. Some of the incidents may have been happening on public transport as well. They'd largely be the places. It's an easy place to be racist on the street, where you can walk away or run away after insulting somebody.